Well, welcome to another episode of Your Worst Song. I'm Alex Southey, and again, this is going to be more of a video podcast going forward. Not more, you're not going to see, it's not going to be the kind of thing where you have to watch and otherwise you'll miss something. It's still mainly going to be audio in terms of the focus. It's still just a conversation, but if people like it, cool. Check it out on video then. Um, this was a fantastic conversation with Pillow Fight. I hadn't met either of the members when I went into it. I'd done a bit of research, heard some of the songs, but that's about it. And I came away thinking not only was that one of the best interviews that I've had the pleasure of doing thus far, but also just we get into the real specifics of what you can do as a Canadian band to be a bit more successful, what led to their, relative success. And like, for example, I was interviewing them while they were in England. They're on tour in Europe and they've done multiple tours and they're going to go down to the States soon. They really, I think, for other musicians, for working musicians in Canada, can sort of serve as a North Star to follow and to they just set a really good example. That's the best way I can say it. So thank you very much for your continued support of the podcast and me and all of the bands that come on. And you're listening to Your Worst Song. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I really appreciate it. Uh, I'd actually love to make the first. Sorry if you've been asked this a bunch of times, but I want to know where the name Pillow Fight came from.
Oh my gosh, I would love to tell you about that. Well, firstly, how like who's your audience? How like risque or not risque do you want this story?
Oh, I couldn't care less. Please tell the story how you see fit. Like,
And
we're
like, can
good.
we curse and stuff? Is that
Oh,
okay?
100%. You can curse.
Lovely.
Most of the listeners, as far as I know, are other musicians, so go for it.
Okay.
Cute,
So you
great.
don't
Yeah.
have like a clean rating on the podcast app or anything?
No, it says explicit, so we're all good.
Okay.
Hey.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I firstly I super apologize, but my really gravelly voice, I hope that it's clear enough.
No, it's
We did a
great.
show last night and it was a struggle bus, but hopefully you'll hear something.
Now I can hear you. It's a good radio voice, actually. It's
Is
warm.
it?
Yes.
Hey, that's great. Singing, unfortunately, I sound a little bit like I'm like Leonard Cohen's weird non-binary child.
It's a
Sure.
vibe. We're leaning into it.
Hey, it's a
We're like
vibe. It's
3 weeks into this tour and we have one show
What's the
left.
last?
So we're just vibing
oh
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
no, it's good to
Um,
catch you at that point. I'm gonna ask you because that means you've done most of the tour. I can ask you how it's been and all that stuff. So, but no, please go ahead about Pillow Fight.
so before Pillow Fight, pre-pandemic, I was really into roller derby
Mhm.
and my roller derby name. But I kind of whenever I watched any type of like lesbian porn or anything like some kind of lesbian setup, it was always a pillow fight and it was always something that was very like sapphic and it was very sweet, but it was also quite weirdly aggressive and like sexy, and so that's where it came from.
I'm only laughing at the aggressive part. I love the idea of no matter who it is in porn, I love the idea of them taking the storyline so seriously that they get competitive about the pillow
Yeah,
fight. That's
no,
super funny.
I mean they are actors after all, so
Yes, right. They're method actors potentially, so they got to win the pillow fight.
yeah.
That's too funny. That's a great inspiration. That's also insight because I had no idea that's how it would be. I feel like well, whatever. Maybe we don't go down this avenue, but that's a funny
Well,
inspiration.
well, when we started this over the pandemic just to like kill time. Like
Mhm.
there wasn't shows. You know what I mean? There wasn't like
I
anything
do.
do, and Art was kind of new to the music biz, and I was a live guitarist and had my whole year basically canceled. So
Right.
I want to learn how to produce, and we just started hanging out. And so they just had some song, and we just made this. We were just making songs. There was no like marketing plan. There was no. I was like, hey, I like this song. Do you want to put the vocals down and let me produce it? And then when shows happened again, we finally got the guts to show somebody. And they're like, oh, you guys should be in a band. And it's like, well, what are we going to call it? And I was like, well, obviously, your roller derby name is the best band name that we have access to. So let's do that. And that's how it came to be.
Well, I want to hear more about it sounds like not a happy accident, but it sounds like it was sort of very organic the way it began, especially art like it was referenced you didn't actually come from a music background. So how do you go to that?
I mean, I always say that I'm not a musician, but I'm a vibe setter.
Okay. Okay.
And so Aaron and I do really well where uh, I am a people person. I care a lot about aesthetic and networking. And Aaron is very musically proficient. And so together I think we have parts that we need from each other. And when I first started, like I barely knew how to sing, just like right now with my voice. And I knew 3 chords pretty much. And then Aaron not only taught me it, but kind of encouraged me to get singing lessons and to start writing more. And now I can say, I do know how to make music. I do know how to do the stuff, but without Aaron's kind of guidance and encouragement, I don't think I would have gotten very far.
So that's lovely. I
Yeah.
love that. That's really nice, and it is evidence of your friendship, I guess, prior to this. But I want to hear how the conversation goes when you're approached and it's like maybe singing lessons for you. Was that an awkward thing you were worried about bringing up, or were you like, art's going to be totally fine with this, and they understand?
No, no, I wasn't. It wasn't really awkward because I have a friend, well, we both do, I guess. Jessie Brown from Halifax. She lives in New Zealand now, but she was I've worked with her in the past on stuff, and especially working in situations with a non-binary
Mm.
singer, and Art's vocal range is a little bit different. And I can arrange instruments all day long and press buttons and bend strings and stuff, but when it comes to like the mechanics of holding yourself to sing, like that's not my bag. And it really was kind of a thing for Art, because like singing is a muscle that you have to exercise and do all that stuff. And like when we're doing vocal takes and they were getting tired or running out of juice, and they were kind of asking like, what do I do? And I was like, I'm not the, if you want to know how to play guitar, that's cool, I'm the guy to ask. But when you're talking about how do I, or like when we started playing shows
Mm.
and partway through, like you're like, how do you pace yourself vocally, and where do you put these things, and how do you move them around? And also just to like they didn't come from a musical background. So when you're recording, there's still musical things that you're trying to hit. So I figured it would be a great thing to hook them up with Jesse, who was also a very good teacher in the way that they're going to teach you to sing. Like we don't need Art to sing like Whitney Houston. That's not our vibe. We don't need to be doing scales and
I
high notes and
fucking
stuff like
could.
that.
But I'm saying that we were talking the other day. I feel quite glad that I didn't do music in university. I feel like there's something really cool about getting into music when I was 26, and how like I had a totally different, very grassroots way of learning about music and being experimental. And I feel like did you go to music school?
No, and actually, I'm a little bit similar to you.
Yeah.
I've been doing music privately, like doing music. I've been learning guitar. I'm actually in my childhood bedroom, so this is where I learned it. But
Oh,
Nice.
yeah, but I didn't publicly start until I was 25. So I'm a little bit more similar to you. But actually, related to what you're saying, I wanted to ask about that because I think I've talked about this a little bit in the past with somebody else who similarly didn't have the classic music background where they go through the stages of probably in your teens and you like the guitar gods and you're listening to whatever, right? you're coming from this totally outside view and bringing these different perspectives that
Mhm.
we wouldn't necessarily normally get if you just had ingested the classic
Exactly.
stuff. Yeah. So
Yep.
how does that work when you both start writing? When you both start songwriting?
It was, um, so Aaron went to school for jazz and
Okay.
I went to school for women's studies.
Okay.
Together, we make this band. So it's kind of starts with me crying in my car and writing on an envelope some feelings that I have.
Sure.
And just like I write very like literally, and I have a lot of like cultural references, and I'm very like just say it how it is. I don't really like to pussyfoot.
hmm
Um,
Which would
and
be
then
a great band name, though.
Pussyfoot, great
Yeah.
band name.
Yeah.
You can take that if you
Okay.
want.
Sure.
Okay, we'll do a sister project. That'd be
Yeah, that would be great.
And then I bring it to Aaron, and then usually Aaron asks me, I'm talking too much, you say.
Like, so yeah, basically I will get often I will get a call because Art is very emotionally driven, whereas I am the more calculated one who will just be like dicking around in the studio, and they'll call me up and they said I just broke down in the grocery store parking lot and wrote 3 verses and a chorus. I need a bridge. I'm coming over.
And you're like, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have a like set of like 20 question, not 20 always, but like, like, are we happy? Are we sad? Are we somewhere in between? Are we fast? Are we slow? Are we major? Are we
Yeah.
minor? Who are you
Oh,
listening
wow.
to lately? Who like what have you been listening to that made this come out? Are there other artists or like a song that's been stuck in your head that this came by? Like
Right.
where we want to go? And then we kind of like basically hack out a skeleton within
Yeah.
3 hours maybe of the thing, and we lay down a voice memo, and then I disappear for like a week and go in the computer and do all this stuff and just send them bounces throughout, and they'll say, oh no, but can you put this here, can you take something away from there, and then
Cool.
we kind of get it to a place where we're
Yeah.
both happy that way, I guess. And then yeah, that's
pretty much it.
yeah.
No, I love that. That's such a tangible method. Like if somebody here is listening to it and that maybe they haven't made music yet, that's actually a really good way to
Yeah.
just go about songwriting. But actually, I'm curious, the way you're describing it, as specifically the part about have you been listening to anything that's inspiring you or whatever, how wide are those boundaries? Like,
Mhm.
I think that your influences can be your, I'm using the general you, not both of you, can be incredibly wide, but then once it's pushed through the prism of you, it ends up still sounding like you or like Pillow Fight. So
Yeah.
so are there any, maybe a good question would be, are there any influences we wouldn't expect? Like, are you
Mm.
like, I was just crushing some yacht rock the other day and I want to make a yacht rock kind of thing?
I find personally, because a lot of the instrumentation and stuff is done by me, so Art will kind of give me a guidepost of what
Yeah.
they're listening to for like the overall vibe. But like
Mm-hmm.
the single we just released, I was listening to a lot of Philip Glass.
Oh,
It's
okay.
more of that. You can go find it on the streaming platforms.
Hey.
Go on.
Which like didn't even really, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell that Philip Glass was an influence, but there's like a piano part in there that I was listening to a lot of Philip Glass and put that in, and it's all these like tiny little vibes. There's no real realm, and we're a little bit like
But
manic about how we put things together anyway, because sometimes it's a
yeah.
country song, sometimes it's an acoustic ballad,
Yeah.
sometimes it's like a heavy grunge 90s situation.
Mhm.
And
Right.
like we'll bring whatever they're listening to at the time, and then I will go dive in that and follow that. And then sometimes,
Yeah.
you need a guitar sound, so I'd be like, is it the Strokes or is it something else? Or
Right.
I don't really want to like, the whole like goal with this project, because we made it without a music business happening around us, so we didn't
Mm-hmm.
really have to like make a genre. We didn't really have to be like, we're this or
Yeah.
we're that. So it was just kind of like, whatever, what do you think this song's supposed to be like?
No,
One
that's
of the
cool. You
songs,
just get to serve, the song is
yeah.
it, the song is king and you serve that.
Like
Yeah.
Art brought me a Nirvana chorus for the new record, which maybe wouldn't have been expected if you heard our first EP. But like the chords were, it was like, yeah, it was a straight up 90s grunge
What was the
Nirvana.
song?
It's not out yet. It's on our
No,
record.
sorry, I don't mean yours. I mean the Nirvana song.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. Aaron sees the Nirvana in it, but I just wrote it after being like, I know this chord and I know this chord, and I'm gonna do it like this, and I'm gonna sing over it how I feel about, this moment. And so it wasn't, it's funny when people are like, I really hear a lot of, insert 90s band.
Mhm.
Wow, are they influential? And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just like, as I always say, I'm learning, but I'm also like, a lot of it is just guessing and being like, I'm setting the vibe. This sounds good with this, and then Aaron makes it like cohesive.
Right. Okay, I
Well,
can see that.
I heard Lithium, I guess.
Ah,
The
okay.
like chorus they brought in, and I was like, as soon as they were playing the power chords the way they were playing them, I was like, I kind of think I know the vibe, and then I kind of
Cool.
described it, and they're like, no, that's the vibe. I was
So you wanted us to say some really cool Nirvana song so bad.
No, hey, Lithium is a cool Nirvana song in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. That's why I wrote it. So
Exactly. Well, related to what you were just talking about how you kind of don't need to answer to like so much about being a musician these days, unfortunately, is having to be able to essentially come up with like an elevator pitch
yeah,
shortened for what you're doing. So you didn't
yeah,
have to do that in the pandemic. Now, obviously, it's not fully over, but people are out and about and doing everything. So you do have to begin to answer to that. How do you do that?
yeah,
Did that change how you wrote or how you talked about your music?
right. I think that Aaron and I always say that like our genders are very similar to our genres, where I think the genres can be quite limiting. And yes, they can find the specific community, but it doesn't always serve the purpose for the music. And sometimes you can't shove it into a box. And so I think we've done a really good job with standing our ground and being like, we can't be put into one genre.
Mhm.
And every song that we make, we just take it as its own art piece in itself.
So you don't that all makes sense, but that's sort of to me like that's a way you could be doing singles. So what happens when you come up
Yeah.
with an EP or an album? Is there a slightly more of an attempt to make it at least siblings, if, not the exact same, but
I
Aaron?
I I find that like we both have fairly, though opposite personalities, strong personalities, and
Mhm.
um that it still sounds like us. And like I don't know, like some of my favorite albums are like slightly bipolar, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like I
mhm.
love the White Album, and like where is the, like
Totally. What's the
listen
through line
to,
there other than boundless creativity?
and like it's whatever we play, and it's the same way when we tour, because like we're over here now like in the UK just with the two of us,
Mhm.
and we're playing songs that maybe if we were home and we had the budget, we'd have a drummer and a synth player and a bass player and we do the full thing. But like we're playing versions of the songs and we think the songs still stand even if it's just two acoustic guitars and us singing, because like the main thing is that the two of us are making them, I
Totally. And
think.
and that's also a great way to test out the maybe the word would be like durability or something
Yeah.
of a song. You know what I mean? Can you strip it down and it's still interesting to at least you and the audience?
And I think we do that really well, where our songs can be very diverse, very versatile. Like right now, being on tour, the songs that you'll hear on the record, October 11th, go
Woo!
stream it.
Okay.
Um, those songs are so rocky. They're like, you know, there's a little bit of beaches in there. There's a little bit of like, uh, I would say like super tramp. There's these things that I've personally never heard super tramp acoustic, but it seems like, it's nice that we can have us as just a duo, and just like whatever we have around us can still deliver the same songs and the same vibe, which I think
Yes.
is very it's I think our main talent, if anything.
Yeah, it seems like you both have a really good sense of what you both want to project, whatever that means from the band, and that yeah, yeah. Okay, I have a question though about I guess I have a question about how you two handle the instrumentation and playing songs when it is just you two versus like
Yeah.
you said if you were in Canada maybe you'd have a full live band or whatever. So how does that go?
Yeah.
It's mostly like um art art is like the singer rhythm guitar player, and we
Mhm.
kind of boil things down to its like core.
Mhm.
And I kind of take what I think needs to be taken from the arrangement. I was just like joking the other day because we're going back to Canada for a bit, and then we leave for the States for a few weeks, and then we have a showcase at Nova Scotia Music Week, and we're gonna play all the new songs with the band for like the first time at this
That's
showcase.
awesome.
And I was just like, oh shit, I gotta go back and learn some of those guitar parts, because like in some of the breaks in between the verses, the piano part is the main vibe that I've been playing those piano melodies, because we have kind of like a Milk Carton Kids vibe,
Mhm.
like a Gillian Welch vibe when we're just doing the duo thing. So I'm doing like lead stuff and color and doing harmonies, and some of them is like, well shit, I've been playing the piano parts in some of these songs,
Mhm.
or the synth part, or
Right.
maybe playing nothing at all and just letting the song sit with just, yeah, there's songs where I just like let art do the whole thing
Yeah.
for a verse, instead of doing all the like spooky stuff that would be put in with synths and studio tricks. So it's basically just kind of like boiling it down to see if you can get it to its like most most relatable elements with four. We only have four voices, and
Yeah,
like we
yeah.
have singing, two guitars, and like my thing is like a good song should sound good just on a guitar, piano, and
I
song.
I
So like
agree.
we still have the bonus of like I can layer things on, and we can do some harmonies, and it's a different vibe selling it in the duo situation.
Mhm.
It's a little bit more like stage banter and stuff in between, because you don't have the rest of the band there to push the emotional dynamics around. And
Totally.
but yeah, for us, like we kind of started writing these songs just like this, and it worked. And then when we started to record them, we were like, well, this could use drums, or this could be a cool pop song. And so we didn't really want to like limit it. And then also it's kind of nice to get played on the radio, and you don't often hear two folk singers like doing dual guitar stuff on the radio kind of vibe. So
No, no, definitely not. I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. The fact that both of you start from the place of just the two of you means that if you ever are on tour like you are right now and you need to strip it back to that, you don't have to worry it's going to be missing something because that's where it began. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also been really helpful with finding different communities and different venues and where to play. Like even last night we were in Taunton, which is like in Somerset, like this very sleepy town, and we were playing to like, an older demographic, and they were expecting a folk show, and then being able to go into inner cities and being able to like play a more rocky show in like
Yeah.
it's been really great to like, circulate our music in different atmospheres like that. I think it's
Mhm.
been helpful because the gaze always comes.
I was actually just going to ask, not specifically about that, but that was my next question. No, I was going to ask, what is it like playing? Is it your first time in Europe anywhere?
No, this is our
Fifth,
fifth time.
fifth
Fifth.
time.
Fifth as Pillow Fight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damn. So you've been put the work in since pandemic. Damn.
we've been like, I don't know what happened. It's like, it's almost like Aaron and I just like, I know it's cliche, but like something really sparked, and
Oh, so cliche. No, no, no. I'm joking completely.
neither of us have ever questioned it. We've just been like, we're obviously going to do a European tour every year. We're going to make a record. Then we're going to do this. We're going to apply for everything. We're going to keep going. And maybe one day we'll be a little tired. But for now, I think that we're just like, we're reaping all of the really beautiful successes from working so hard.
And
Totally.
we're lucky that it's just the two of us and we can say yes, because kind of what
Yeah.
got us over here was a bit of a like scheduling thing, and someone couldn't do something and there was an open spot for a showcase that,
Yeah.
and someone was like, can you make it to Germany in 3 weeks to fill this slot, because we have Canada House booked and someone couldn't make it for some reason.
And you're like,
And
duh.
like,
We were sitting in
yeah,
the,
let's do it. Like let's
yeah.
figure it out how to go. And then we made connections there that helped us come back and like
So
work
good.
that kind of thing. So it's a lot of it was just kind of like being lucky enough to get asked a couple of times and then making it work and doing the work while we were here to kind of hope that we can, like, you're always trying to like go once so you can go twice so you can go
Exactly.
3 times,
You're constantly laying the groundwork to come back and that kind of thing. How how is it in Europe? So you're referencing Germany, you're in England right now, is that you said?
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
no. What was your question?
My question, I guess, was basically, how is it?
Nice. Um, uh, Europe has been a Europe in total
Yes.
has been honestly, not to say that we don't love performing in Canada and Canada is our home, we have to break nationally, but we get such incredible audience. We get treated very well, especially in Germany. And so we talked with our label and we kind of had this like plan to export to specifically England and Germany. And again, it's not like Canada doesn't have resources.
But you can only play so much in, like, we can
Yeah,
only play
yeah.
so much in Halifax. Like Halifax is
Totally.
very big, so, and like you can only go to like
Toronto a couple of times a
a couple
year.
of times a year, and
I
like,
would even argue the same thing is true for Toronto, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Like, you can't,
yeah,
it's really tough to keep trying to use your same group in one city to keep coming out to your shows, even if they love your band. It's just like
yeah,
asking too much almost.
like every couple of months you're like, oh, you guys, okay, and then they get to like, well, I'll catch you on the next one because you
E-
do it all the time. So
Exactly. So why
instead of like hanging
specifically?
out to
So
go, like waiting to play, because we can only play like once or twice a year in Halifax, kind of, because you like don't want to exhaust it. We're
yes,
like,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
well, while we're waiting, it's just as much to get a plane ticket to England, and
than
we
it
have
is to Vancouver.
than it is to Vancouver, or put gas in a van and drive to Toronto and do that. Like,
Yeah.
why
No,
not?
that's a good way of thinking about it. I don't think enough people think that way about it, actually, myself included. Uh, I want to hear. I keep thinking of different avenues of questions because there's a lot I want to ask you both. But why specifically England and Germany with your label? Why were those the two places?
Well, we started, as Aaron was talking about, our first show in our export mission was Reeperbahn in Hamburg, Germany.
Hmm.
And we also on that tour we also did like a really good London show, and we met the right people, and like Aaron and I are like networking, like whenever we go to like a showcase conference, we make sure that we meet the people, we make sure that we like hand out the stickers, that we just talk and learn. And it's honestly, it's something that I really wish bands knew. I think that bands are like, I'm going to go play and they're going to see how great I am. And I'm
Right.
like, that's not enough.
Yeah.
You have to sell yourself in a very strategic, very business way. And I think when we talk to, people in Germany, PR, we talk to, bookers in England, we make those connections so that we can make sure that next time we have a bigger show, that we have more promotion. Like, I think understanding the business has really helped us. And so now we can see on like our Spotify and iTunes demographics that like half of our listeners are in Germany and England. So we're like,
Oh,
so I'll go back.
well, that makes it easy. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You referenced not thinking about the business side of things when you first started. So when did you begin to go, okay,
Yeah.
bring that into the fold and not just be hippies with our music, as lovely as that is.
Well, like part of it, I
I
don't know, it's like like the business side could have like many facets to it, I guess. So when we were like not thinking about the business, and we're still not very like easily pinned down for a genre or an elevator pitch. But then there's another aspect of it that like I kind of say like more than half of it is just being a good hang. People want to work with you, and like we love hanging
Yeah.
out with musicians and industry people. Excuse me. And like going to those things, it's
Yeah.
like I guess we are networking, but we're also like, yeah, like where's a good place to have a beer? You seem
Yeah.
cool. Like, you're
It's
working
like
on this
organic
thing.
networking. It's not you going, here's my card, although you do the stickers or whatever. But I completely
Yeah,
understand what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
that's how the world works. It's who
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and if they like hanging out with you and that kind of thing. And oh,
Yeah.
by the way, your art is great. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's somewhat of a
But
secondary thing.
bands, musicians have this like, it's this ego that makes them seem untouchable or that they don't want to be talked to. And I'm like, Aaron and I are like, hey, where are you from? Oh, I like your bag. Like, it's not, sure, it might be like, yeah, friendly, and maybe people aren't used to that because, when you go to a conference, everyone just wants to like seem so cool.
Is that
Um,
how it is? That's how it feels in Toronto, but I haven't actually gone to a conference. That's just how I feel about the scene. But yeah.
that's as far as I'm concerned, every conference that we've really been to, except for maybe one in Wales, all of them have been like, all of them have seemed like the delegates and the artists there's not much warmth.
That's
And
because Welsh people are awesome. But
that's probably it.
Well,
yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
people are tired. They're long days.
Yeah.
There's like a whole lot of stuff, and that's another thing that like Art and will like give them a sticker, but we're not necessarily pitching
Yeah.
ourselves to them
No,
because
no.
meetings to be pitched. And I feel like delegates, industry people, bookers get exhausted because they're like, well, no, like let's just hang out. Tell me about like what's Halifax like? Like, do you
Yeah.
want a beer? Do you want to like what's going on in your life? What's your cat's name? Do you have pictures? Like sometimes there's a bit of people get burnt out because everyone's like
Want
focusing on the
something.
business of it, but
Yeah.
you're like, actually, we've made so many friends through those conferences because we yes, we have the time to do your like one-on-ones, your 5-minute pitches, your showcases. You do all the thing, but mostly it's just like we'd have a chat with someone and be like, well, hey, if you're around, like
Yeah.
come check this out, instead of like constantly be pushing business stuff at people, because like the
Yeah.
conferences, you're there all day and everyone's doing all the classes and all the round tables and all the things, and then just like, yeah, just going and like trying to not feel like people are inaccessible or people are on another level. It's like everyone's just here because they love music, and like we all have that in common. So instead of feeling like
Yeah.
intimidated by those people or like shy about going up to them, and like we're also very much like, well, you're busy too, so if you can't catch it, no worries, but like love to chat, let's hopefully we'll have a beer later or something like.
I think that
Mhm.
approach is really smart too, because my guess is that a lot of those delegates or those people that are getting hit up or whatever, they're constantly getting like the boilerplate version of
Yeah.
come to my show, this is who I am, blah blah blah. It begins probably like you're saying to wear on them. And the fact that you're both coming up to them and just going, you have a little bit of that, but just because you need to be responsible somewhat about getting your stuff out there. But for the most part, you're just wanting to be a hang and like
Yeah.
it seems like you're less intense about it, and yet it's reaping more than what a lot of the intense people are
I
getting.
think I think if you take away, this is going to sound horrible, maybe I can phrase it better. If you take away the desperation that I think a lot of musicians feel, and the things that they really need from delegates and bookers and whatever, and putting personality and putting, vulnerability and, just having a bit of a relax, I feel like it goes a long way because you're not just cookie cutter someone to like
That's what I mean.
put on the radio. You're actually someone who, like, the amount of times where we go to showcase festivals or we like you know, go to shows and we just see people that we saw 2 years ago, and that we always have like a big hug and we have like a beer, and we're just like, we're so glad that we made friends instead of just made connections, like business connections. I think it was helpful.
No, and also no, not necessary to re-edit yourself. I think that you very, very well articulated.
Don't be desperate, even though we
Even though
kind
we're
of
all
are.
desperate.
Even though everybody
No.
is desperate, and you do
Yeah.
internally need to be desperate for it.
Big time.
But okay, well, getting back to Canada, I'm gonna bring it back to that stuff soon. But getting back to Canada, I saw some of your recent posts. You were in the CBC most looked forward to fall albums, which congratulations, October 11th. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, is it kind of nuts to be? I'm just speaking for myself. If I was in your position and I saw that I was in an article referenced with like fucking Nelly Furtado and these other like nationally known names, does it at least give you sort of this sense of like we're doing something right? We're beginning to get more notice and we're still true to ourselves. Is that how it feels? Or yeah, I want to hear how it feels.
That's such a nice question. I think when the article came out, Aaron and I were never, sometimes sometimes I wish that we had a few more moments of sitting down and being like, whoa, we did really cool work. We're doing great shit. But the way that our lives are, we don't really have that much time, unfortunately, right now, while we're on our tour, to like sit down and be like, damn, that's not like our face. Our face is next to that. Instead, I'm like, Aaron, we got to book tickets tomorrow. And I'm excited for when we can sit down and for when it can feel real. But it's interviews like this that make me feel like we are doing something really cool.
You are. I mean, if I can say it to you, I don't know how to put it, but I guess the best way to put it is you should be aware you're kind of living the dream. Like you're touring in Europe, maybe you're not making millions of dollars or whatever, but you're doing, I feel like think about the number of people who call themselves musicians or are trying to be musicians or bands and they barely get out of their garage. You're in Europe. You're on these articles. You know what I mean? I completely understand what you're saying. It's hard to sort of stop and smell the roses and give yourself that, but that's cool. I hope you get to a point where you can, do that.
But sorry, Aaron, I have to say this. And then I can't talk anymore. But I think what makes me feel, I think, a little sad is that we are, of course, I believe that we have something special, but there are so many bands that I know that could do this, Like, I think we are like so many bands that we know, such incredible bands in Halifax. And so many times I'll like chat with my friends in music and be like, you can do it too. Just like, what do you need?
But it's so hard because like we just finished and paid for a record and the PR behind it, and then it goes on Spotify. And so all that investment is marketing, and like it's really, and like we are lucky because we are dually sufficient. We travel with 2 guitar cases and 1 suitcase.
Yes.
And we just need a bed, but some people need a whole band to bring with them, or 3 or 4 people, and that's 2 extra plane tickets. And like the Spotify royalties aren't helping with that. And like, thank God in Canada we still have some arts funding that will help, but that's also a process that we're very lucky that we have people to collaborate to help us get those things. And like I feel like seeing our picture right under Nelly Furtado on that
Pretty
post
cool.
was like super amazing, but at the same time you're like, well, we're eating gas station sandwiches on the side, you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
where it's like, I love that. That is so wonderful. And like CBC has been very nice to us and all that stuff, but like we still gotta me and Art in the car of 4 hours on the A303 it was today, getting back from Taunton, like eating shrimp cocktail sandwiches or whatever it was. And so like while we do that, there's also like an element of like that's cool, but like it's still a slog, and we love it, and we feel very lucky that we get to do it. But sometimes, like Art was saying, it's a little hard to bask in that because we are still just like trying to get ourselves to London tomorrow on the train, and then we got to catch a plane on Monday and get back and like figure out a way to get. We have another conference coming up in 3 days, and it's like I say, we're a fairly self-sustained unit, so it's not like we're still manning the social media. We're still looking at the inboxes. We're booking the hotels and stuff. So while that is lovely, there's still an element of like we have so much further to go before it's
No, absolutely, absolutely. And maybe if you didn't feel that internally, that you had so much further to go, you actually wouldn't even have gotten as far as you have. You need to keep looking down the road of where you're going, as opposed to if you only were stopping and smelling the roses, maybe you would wait too long and actually not go further. Uh,
I wish that we smelled the roses just a little bit.
we're
even a whiff.
we do have a break coming up in November because it's been a bit of a nutty year.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, that's coming up soonish. That's not so bad.
yeah, so we're a couple of months away from it, and probably like 12 shows still left in that time, and several thousands of kilometers before that happens. But
Nice.
yes, that
Well,
will smell the roses then.
I feel like, okay, it's already been 40 minutes. This might just be a longer episode because if that's okay with you guys, because
Yeah.
I think while you're here willing to talk about it, I think already you've shared really good advice and information for artists who are looking to do more with their career, for lack of a better terminology.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I want to press you both on it even more. Like, I want to hear, since I have you, specific, what's a good way of expressing this? Not specific steps, because there's no one ladder, which
Yeah.
is so tough actually. Um, but how? Okay, first of all, forgive me, I can't remember which label are you on?
We're on Laughing Heart Music.
Laughing Heart Music. Okay, so how did you get in touch with the label? How did that start?
Aaron?
So we were working with mixing engineer that we collaborate with quite often, John Mullane. He was in In-Flight Safety. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that Halifax band.
No, I was expecting to say John Mulaney. That was about to blow my mind, but
No,
comedian and engineer. Yeah.
no, this is a Halifax guy that he's from In-Flight Safety, and he was kind of the first person. I've worked with him over the years, and we're friends and quite close, and he was kind of the first person to say, "Oh yeah, like this is a band. This isn't just you
Mm,
like fucking around
Mm.
in your bedroom making songs. Like you guys should these put these songs out. Like
right.
let's get these places." And he was kind of sharing the songs around as friends and colleagues do.
Hmm.
And yeah, it just Nigel at Laughing Heart just kind of heard the song, and we were coming out of it was like that first like music conference when everyone could actually be in a room together.
Hmm.
And he came out and saw our showcase after we had like sent some stuff and kind of been chatting because he's in Newfoundland and we're based in Nova Scotia. And it was just kind of like we're also very lucky, I guess. It's kind of like the part
Yeah.
of it. Like we were lucky enough to work with John, and he's a great guy, and he was sharing the stuff around because he believed in it. Lucky enough to catch Nigel's ear, lucky enough to meet up at this conference, lucky enough to play a set that he enjoyed thoroughly and thought we were putting in a lot of work and we would be a good collaborator.
Hmm.
And by the end of that music conference, we had to kind of like figured out a deal, and it's worked out since, I guess, is kind of where it is there.
Well, that's a
But
very humble way of looking at it, which is good. And luck does have a huge amount to play in it, but it's a hard thing to talk about because you can't harness luck, right? You just have to hope. But I want to hear specifically. You said you sent some stuff to either Nigel or was it somebody else? Okay. Uh, what do you send? Is it literally, hey, we're Pillow Fight, here's 3 demos we're working on, or do you send a bio and a plan for marketing and la da da da?
and
Go ahead.
Well, I think it was mostly just like we were working with John and he was kind of like friends with Nigel. And like we know Nigel, the East Coast
Sure.
scene is the tiniest scene
Hmm.
ever. And like we knew Nigel, but I think it was kind of like John was like, hey, have you heard these people? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then just like sent
Yeah.
it along and it kind of just caught his ear that way. And I believe it was just like one of the songs he was working on.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like caught his ear. And then when Nigel got in touch, he was like, what are you guys up to? And like I said, I personally avoid, and maybe this, I don't know if this is good advice, but I just like talk to people like music fans,
Hmm.
like I want to be talked to about music. Like
Hmm.
everything's kind of like, well, you want to hear this stuff? This is kind of where we're coming from, and this is where we're at. And it's all, I try to leave out the industry bullshit and just say it.
Yes, I agree. Something that we had very from the get-go was a hard brand. We were like, people knew who we were from the first second that we had a song out. We made sure that we knew who we were, what we wanted to look like, what colors we wanted associated with us. And like, we needed a specific branding so that we came out of the gate like, we're not fucking around and this is who we are. And I think
Wow.
that's something that I think musicians sometimes hit the mark in the sense that they kind of want to be everything that they don't have specific branding. And so like even people know us from just our aesthetic, from our hair. And like it's something that has really helped us gain traction, getting people to know who we are. We use it in a lot of promo. There's like, it's kind of like you have to think about that. It's not just music. Music is like, in my opinion, it's really only half of it.
I
Like,
don't even know if it's half personally, but
That might be generous,
yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
sometimes.
and I think that's something that Nigel saw. He was like, I
Hmm.
don't even feel like I have to like, you know, uh
Right.
baby you know
Yes.
what's going on. I'm just gonna be here and like help you along, but you already know what's going on. You guys like have a brand that's very well created and like um yeah, it's been really helpful.
That makes a lot of sense. I think it's really interesting though that you went, and this makes sense, but that you went really hard and specific with a visual brand, but then musically you're like, we're not hemmed in. I think that's super interesting because people, myself included, prior to this conversation, probably would have thought it was more important to do the opposite. Have a
Mhm.
set brand of music and then change up how you look. Who cares? But it makes a
See,
lot of sense.
I
Mhm.
think the like art is a very effective visual brand person, and like
Thanks.
the way, like we are also opposite personalities and opposite, like they're blonde, I am dark and bearded, like, you know what I mean?
Whoa.
Like it's a very like we're kind of like
Totally.
ones and zeros here sometimes too, but like the brand is unforgivably us, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like that comes through in the music too. Like, even though we're not saying we're like a specific genre and sticking to a specific thing, like everything we try to do is what we want to do and what we are. So,
Yeah.
and like I say, we're both quite large personalities, so it kind of caters to that specific branding,
Sure.
and the way art like puts that forward was very helpful, because I think when people want to work, like when industry professionals want to work with people, they want to see that you're doing the work. You know what I mean? Like they don't want someone to come to them and be like, we need this, we need this, we need you to do this, we need you to do this.
Mm.
They want you to come to them and be like, we're doing this, we're
Yeah.
doing this, we're doing this. Can you like aim us?
Right.
Or can we sit down and bounce things off you? Or can you just like, we're doing this and we're doing this and this person won't respond to us. Can you get this person? Like, I feel like sometimes there's a bit of a weird thing where people think they're going to go to people to do things for them and help them along,
Yeah.
which isn't really realistic, because none of us in music at this level are making much money, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like people are looking for people who are already doing the work to join a team, not like lead a team, or,
Be
like,
lad. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. I think a lot of people have an outdated perception of what, because I think it did used to work that way.
Yes, yes, very
Where they
much.
would sculpt you. They go, I see something here, so I'm going to give you all of these resources and send you out and whatever. But
This
that
isn't
has,
American Idol.
yeah, that's true. That's basically American Idol. But I think that even did happen with the 60s and 70s and all
Oh,
throughout.
Yeah.
Things have seriously changed now. Let's say since certainly since the 2000s, I would say.
Napster and all
So
that.
where you almost need to be, yeah, you need to be, it's the way I see it is almost like you need to work yourself up to a level where you almost could be on a label, and then they go, okay, come on the label. Does that make
Yes.
sense?
Yeah. You need
Yeah,
to already be doing the stuff so people are like, oh God, we don't have to start from square one because I don't have time to start from square
right,
one.
right.
I'm already working with people already doing the stuff and it's friggin' hard.
Yes,
And,
yeah,
yeah.
right, right. Okay, well, thank you so much for indulging a lot of my questions. Now I'll actually get to the main four questions that I have. But hey, I hope people listening and watching and have enjoyed it thus far. I think there's a lot of valuable information that you've shared.
This is, I think the it's been really refreshing to talk with someone who helps us reflect on how we've been doing things, because usually don't people don't want to talk about things. They just want to talk about like the song, or they want to
Mhm.
talk about where Pillow Fight came from.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to have a chat with someone who understands the industry and like who is curious about it, because there are so many people that are like, how did you get here?
Exactly. It just seems like a massive mystery. Like I've said this a lot, the one good thing about if you go the office job route of a career, there is an obvious ladder to climb to get
Mhm.
further. There
Yeah,
is no ladder in the arts. It's a fucking crapshoot. You know what I
not at
mean?
all.
So,
Oh,
Well,
uh,
and like none of anything we've said, we don't fucking know if that's like, that's just what we do.
yeah,
Someone could do the exact same fucking thing and have completely, like, we literally don't know anything. We don't know what we're doing. We just work as hard as we can at it and
be
we
kind,
scrape
work hard.
and we most of it is being kind and showing up on time, honestly. Like
Yeah.
that is so much of it is just like we work hard, we are nice, I think, and we show up on time. And
You seem
that's like
nice yeah, and you showed up on time for the interview. It was actually
and
me who was
that's
late, so
like
that's
2 minutes
perfect.
early.
Yeah, you 2 minutes early, exactly. Um, okay. Well, thank you very much for saying that as well.
Thanks, Alex.
Uh, yes. Okay, first question. I would love to, and this is maybe you can talk about your experience more with the tour or tours that you have done. But what's been your favorite gig of your career thus far?
Um, I'm personally gonna go put the oven on.
Okay.
It needs to be preheated because I told my sister that I was gonna make dinner, and she's about to come home from
Sure.
Tuscany.
Sorry, I kept you longer anyway,
Oh
but
my gosh, no,
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 that's cool. We
we'll
can still
talk
do these
forever.
questions.
Aaron,
Just
okay.
start, and then I'll come back.
No, it's all good. Okay, great. Aaron, let's talk about it.
um
Start with mine.
Okay, so we just booked or we started our tour on the same day we released the last single, which was coincidentally my birthday
Oh
on
wow.
August 30th at the Pop Culture Fest in Berlin.
Wow.
And which we were talking about our first trip to Germany
Hmm.
that kind of came spur of the moment. We met one of the bookers there and we kind of hit it off and just like she was interested in what we were doing. We were kind of interested in moving there. And then we kind of like kept that relationship going and we got to bump into her at a conference in Canada. And because that was like, we were like, we want to play pop culture. It sounds like the coolest thing. It's like Berlin
Yeah, of
and all
course.
that stuff. So we ended up after like probably a year and a half of kind of doing the like chat, we got the offer and we got to go and it kind of sparked this little European run we're doing. And then we're in Berlin as a couple of Canadians carrying acoustic guitars around, and we are seeing every style of music. Like you talk about genre bending,
Hmm.
like this is the artsiest stuff. And we're a little, honestly, we were a little intimidated because we played the last day of the festival, and you're walking around and you're seeing like conceptual noise DJs, and then there's African pop stars happening, and like we just saw so much, and we're like, oh shit, we're just a like couple of Canadian kids with our acoustic guitars. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but we performed at this like lovely club that was everything, all the venues were in one little like building round, so you could pop place to place.
Oh, cool.
And the place was jam packed, and we were like not expecting it because we're like, oh, we're just like, but yeah, and you could hear a pin drop in the room when we were doing our set. And then we even got an encore at a festival, which like is an odd thing to have happen. And that was how we started this tour. And it was so amazing to
Wow.
just be like, because yeah, we're like we're from Halifax, right? We're
Totally,
like
totally.
small town kids, and like Berlin to me is like David Bowie and Brian Eno and Lou Reed, and like
Absolutely.
you're wandering around and you show up, and then like everyone you meet is dressed like impeccably and like so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And for us to just like show up and have everyone just like hanging on every lyric, hanging on every guitar lick, it was just, yeah, it was pretty mind-blowing, honestly,
Okay.
for that to like, and that like set the tone for this tour, and it's been fantastic.
It sounds like that's the kind of show that would fill you with a lot of confidence. And so it's great that it was your first. And then it's, that's the wind behind you as you go on throughout the tour.
Yeah, it was one of those like if no other show goes well, which luckily most of them have. But we were like, if no other show goes, like this was a success.
Absolutely.
We just like, and we met again, we met so many cool people who were either in the industry or in the crowd. And our buddy Rich O'Coin was playing, so we went over with a
Yeah.
bunch of people and saw him play, and that was a fantastic set. So yeah, just it was just yeah, just something. And like I say, it was a goal of ours to play
Yeah.
there. When we showed up, we're like, is anyone even going to want to hear our songs? And then so many people wanted to hear our songs. It was amazing.
No, that's fantastic. Are you
If,
good to
if
speak or
Oh yeah, we can keep
okay,
going.
go for it then. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What for you? What about best show?
Aaron took mine.
Oh, okay, okay. That's fine if that's both your best show. That probably means that it must have been seriously good because both of you agree on it.
Yeah.
Well then, the cliff I like to fall off is what about worst show? Worst show that you can remember.
You do yours. We do have separate answers. It's just go
Okay.
ahead. Well, I can do mine.
Yeah,
What was your worst show?
we pre-did these in the car.
Okay.
Make sure that we know what we're talking about.
Also, for you guys can speak. This is for the listeners. For anyone who is still just listening to the audio, with this interview and interviews going forward from like late September, I'm going to be doing video. So, for context, Pillow Fight are whispering about what show they're going to talk about over wine, which is a great
Well,
look.
It's
We're-
8 p.m. on a Saturday,
Yeah.
Alex. I put your fucking judgment. Classy.
It is classy, actually.
I you say it first, and then I can't remember.
Okay, so
It obviously wasn't that bad because
I
I can't
guess
even remember
so.
the first show. Go
Yeah.
on.
my worst show was honestly, I don't know if worst is the right word, but
Sure.
toughest was we played Juno Fest in Halifax.
That was tough. Yeah.
And so a big deal. Juno Fest, all kinds of, it's like it is the Canadian Grammys per se.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so lucky to get on this show, and everything was great. But with the Canadian health system, Art unfortunately had a surgery that they could not miss the week before that.
3 days.
3 days before
Oh.
Yeah.
they
But you can't say no to the Junos.
No, of course. And you also can't, because of what you're saying about the health system, you also can't say no to that
No, to have
because
surgery.
the lists are so long and the wait time. Was that what you're referring to?
yes
Yes, exactly,
Like,
exactly.
if you don't get in for that surgery, you could be like 18 months down the road before you
Right,
get that.
right. Wow, that's a
And-
tough just mix.
Coincidentally, my grandmother passed away the morning of that show.
Jesus Christ. Wow.
So I was already like stressed out. We had the full band going, like you're doing the whole thing, you're trying to promo it. It's friggin' Juno Fest.
Mhm.
And like already worried about Art was being a trooper and going through, but I'm worried about them because they just had surgery. And then I had that, and it was just, I couldn't be as in the show. I still think we did a good job at the show, but it was
Mhm.
like one of those things where it was like you're just emotionally exhausted from the anxiety that's happening throughout. And it
Totally.
becomes a situation where you're like, I just wasn't feeling the show when I was playing it. I was going through the motions mostly, which is the last thing I want to do, just because you're so worried about so many other things happening.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that was really a tough one for me, I guess.
It was tough. It was tough for you. I had gynecological surgery
Yeah,
3 days
your
before.
uterus had
I don't know what you're worried about. No.
so
Um, we had, yeah, we were talking about this before in the car, and I can't stop thinking about the show that we just had.
Okay.
And it was just, I'll leave names out and everything, but
Yeah, yeah, sure.
so we got to the place. No, we got to the country
Mhm.
that we had to be in. We got to the city that we had to be in.
Okay.
And um we first got there, and the person who was working there was like, we don't actually know that you're playing tonight. I'm sorry, are you playing tonight? Who are you? Blah blah blah. And we were like, okay, maybe they just don't know.
Mhm.
And we looked around, there's no PA, and we were like, what
Oh,
the
no.
fuck are we gonna do? So we finally found that there's a guy, and he was fine, and he knew who we were, and he was like,
forgotten.
he forgot. He
Someone
was
had
like,
told him that we were coming, but he had forgotten and
"Yeah,
was at home.
yeah." And so we got up on stage, and there were a handful of people in the audience, and there was a man there with his whole family sitting right next to the stage.
With like whole fit, like it was a bar, but there was like 2 or 3 children and like
It's
a
Europe.
90-year-old.
Sure. Yeah.
But they didn't serve food, so we were confused.
So we played our first song, which is Sunday, which is the first song on the record, and it's one of
Mhm.
our favorite songs to play. And we were like in it, and we're like, it doesn't matter if they don't know us, it doesn't matter if no one's here, we're just gonna have a really nice time.
Yeah.
And then after the first song, the guy is like, please stop, shut up.
Oh.
And that was the first song. We had an hour to play.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It was really, and luckily Aaron's the best music partner ever. I looked over at him, and he was like, it's just you and me, it's just a regular show. There are people here that are looking at you, put on a show. And I was like, but it was really hard.
Wait. So did you continue the show or did you stop?
Fuck yeah, that's the
Fucking right,
job.
yeah. I was like, fuck them, whatever. Like, why do they have their whole family at a music venue at 9:30 at night?
Oh, I
Like,
misunderstood. Sorry, I thought that it was somebody running the show who was like, you
No,
gotta fucking
just a
stop.
patron, just
it
a
was a
patron.
heckler.
Oh,
on
whatever.
it.
Fuck that family. Who cares?
No, it's the first time that that's ever happened to me personally.
Hopefully first and last.
I really hope so, but I kind of hope that we have more bad shows, because it means we'll have lots of good shows. Hopefully,
That's
how it
true.
works, right? That's the
Yeah.
stat.
That's how
Yeah.
math works, right? That's
I
math.
think so. The law
Yeah.
of probabilities or averages, or I don't know.
Exactly.
Guitar, I
Yeah.
don't
We're
do math.
artists, okay? We don't
Yeah.
come on. Okay, well, what do you sort of hinted at this a little bit with playing that first song. You both said you love it, but what do you think is your best, air quotes, whatever that means to you, song
Hell
by
yeah.
by Pillow Fight?
I think that my favorite produced song is Ativan. I really love Ativan, and I put it on whenever I need to feel brave, or I'm about to go out and do something like that I need courage for.
Yeah.
And it's got like this really dope beat, and like the lyrics, like for those people that know me and knew what it was about and everything, like it's so intensely personal and unapologetic. And when I feel like musicians should listen to their music more. I think that sometimes we are like the therapy that we need.
Yes, no, actually that's a great way of putting it.
And so I listened to the song, and I'm like, fuck, I was really angry, and that's okay. Like, it's like reading your diary after lots of years and being like, whoa, that's
This poor
okay.
kid.
Yeah, I feel kind of
Yeah,
sorry for you, but also, with a lot of pain came this great song. So
totally.
yeah.
No, that's funny. That reminds me, just before you get to the other answer, that reminds me of this. Do you guys know who Donald Glover is, the
Yeah.
actor in Childish Gambino? He has a stand-up special. I don't know why he only put out one, because he's hilarious. Like, as far as I'm concerned, he's best at that. But he has a joke in it where he's with his partner at the time, riding in the car, and they're listening to his music. He puts on his own music, and she
Yeah.
sort of judges him, goes, "You listen to your own music?" And he makes the joke that that's the only professional profession in arts where you're looked at as weird if you listen to your own stuff. And he relates it to, like, you're not going to
Yeah.
judge a Subway sandwich artist if they're making a sandwich in their own kitchen and going, wow, you're really full of yourself, aren't you?
Mhm.
It's so odd that you can't celebrate yourself and listen to your own stuff, because theoretically what you're making yourself is like kind of a distillation of what you like the most about music, but so
I
why
love
wouldn't
that.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you have to be your first fan. Like,
Yes.
if
Oh my
you think
God.
that you are shit, then no one else is going to think you're good.
Completely. I completely agree.
But we'll get to the worst song in a second, so don't
Oh, we
worry.
will. Yes.
Aaron.
Yeah,
Um,
Aaron.
well, the of our songs that have been released, the album's coming, and I feel really good about the album. But of our songs that have been released so far, the last single, More of That, I think has been my favorite, because I have produced all of the Pillow Fight stuff. And when we talk about the worst one, we can get into more of the darker side of this. But
Okay.
More of That was kind of the first song from the record where I felt I was actually hitting the goals sonically
Yeah.
that I was intending to. I
Yes.
wasn't just like aiming and getting it good. I was like getting the things that I wanted to get. Like, it was the closest I've come to the sounds in my head that I wanted when I was envisioning it, when it was happening.
Yeah.
And to feel that kind of like control over it, I guess maybe is the word, to be like, I'm getting closer to you never really get to the point, I don't think. And like, if you
Totally.
get to the point, it might get boring. But like, I feel like that was the thing where I was like, I wasn't fighting with it. I was just going at it and getting there. And that was kind of the first song, like the first single from the record that's coming out that just dropped there. And
Hmm.
that was like the first one where I was like, yeah, that was the thing I meant to do. Like, I put in the work, and it ended up, there was no kind of like, oh, but that guitar, like, I was really in
Hmm.
that spot where I was like, I was doing the thing that I was setting out to do,
Yeah.
and
Very
getting
purposeful.
there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very rare thing to feel like you completely pulled it off. So that's great that that's an example. More of that. Was that the one that came out on August 30th?
Yeah, that
Okay,
one.
cool. So people should listen to that if they haven't. Um, let's
Mhm.
talk about the worst song.
Okay.
Want
Let's
me to
hear it.
start? Because I was talking
Whoever
about
wants.
production.
I mean, it would follow goals.
So the second single we released is called Alkali,
Mhm.
which I'm like, I don't know. I have a hard relationship with it, because it was like the first song, we were surprised at how well it did. And it got like picked up by some things, and it was like doing
It was on the
doing really
BBC.
well. And it was like the first song
Yeah.
I kind of produced
Yeah.
myself, and it was like my say. And I was like, and my buddy mixed it and did a great job. But we kind of like, I was still like, I don't know if anyone's gonna fucking listen to this. We just like made it in my office, and it's
Yeah.
like, and then it had kind of been like surprised us both, and we did a release show for it and sold out the shows and stuff. And it was like, oh shit. And then I had to make the follow-up, so that was neurotic city, like, sophomore slump type vibes.
Oh yeah.
And I probably started it 4 times over, where I was like trying to do it, probably trying too hard to be perfect, quote unquote.
Which is are changing goalposts anyway.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like, until I finally had to, like, my buddy John Mullane, who I mentioned, who's like a great friend, and like
Mhm.
has mentored me in a lot of this production thing where I said it to him. He's like, this is great. What the fuck's your problem? Just like finish it.
Sometimes you have to get out of your own head and have somebody else from the outside go, this is at 98%. You're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still to this day, when I listen to it, I hear that 2% and I hear
Uh-huh.
the things I burnt down and started again and the like stomach pain of being like, I think this sucks. Did I just ruin the band? We had one good song and now it's done, blah, blah, blah. So that one to me sits like that.
So forgive me, what does alkali mean?
Can you let them in?
Yes.
Sorry, it was my sister and her fiance.
No worries. No worries.
Alkali is a term. So I grew up in England and I heard this term in science class, and maybe it doesn't, I don't know if they use it in
I've heard the word, I just can't remember what it is.
It's something
like
about like
acid,
aligning with
alkali.
it's like
a
taking the
pH
acidity
balance.
out of something.
Oh, in your stomach? Something
Well,
like that?
it's like, you know how some things are acid and the opposite is
Oh,
alkali.
yeah. Okay, I see. Now I know.
It's just like a science term.
No, I like it. Okay. I shouldn't have outed you. Okay. Yeah, that's great. So is it the same answer for you then, or do you have a different answer?
I have a trickier answer just because a lot of my songs are, as I said, super personal, and I don't. Yeah, I like to put a lot of myself and a lot of my experiences and relationships with people into the songs. I think that it helps with other people kind of identifying from their own shit that's going on in their life. And in the song Napanee, you know Napanee, you're in Toronto.
Yes, I know Napanee.
Yeah. So Napanee was written about an ex-partner who invited me to their family's house to meet all their family in the first like few months of being in a relationship with them. And while we were at their family's house, their grandma died in the house.
While you were there.
Wow.
First time meeting the fam.
Wow.
And so I wrote this very heart-wrenching, very catchy song that people love. And it brings me back to like, the song's about like, I just want to take all your tears away. I love you so much. Blah, blah. And I think that's such a risk as an artist to put out really vulnerable stuff if you don't feel it anymore. Or if, you know, there is like, I think sometimes people who listen to music forget that the artist still has to sing the songs even after all the shit. And we were talking about like how like the guy that sang American Pie, how
John McClane.
He didn't even really want to sing it anymore, but he still has to sing it. And we've talked about it multiple times, and I'm like, we can sing Napanee for the audience, but I also have to feel like it's hard to feel and like emote.
It's still one of our top streaming songs, and people are constantly asking about
Expecting it. Okay.
But that was like about an ex, and I'm like, and very specifically, it's not like that situation is very unique.
Very.
Yeah, yeah. That's not something you get in every single relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So I wouldn't say it's the worst song, but it's just tricky.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that's a fair answer. And also the best and worst are so abstract in terms of what I mean. I like the fact that you can answer that way, or it can be answered with the very tangible production issues like was answered before.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the Pillow Fite's vibe. We're just so black and white. Pillow Fite, all like we're there for kind of a non-binary kind of band. We're actually quite binary. Just
I was just going to make that
together.
point when you said ones and zeros, but I thought I'm not going to tread lightly.
No,
that's a great point.
Virgo.
It's a great point. Okay, well, this was a great conversation. Seriously, I really enjoyed meeting both of you. Yeah, also super cute cat.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. And what we do, sorry, go ahead.
No, please. We can talk about the cat if you want, but
no, about the cat, I'll say anybody who's only listening, you should watch this interview because there's a cute cat in it. but we just end it by having the band restate their name, or the band members restate their names, name of the band, and name of the worst song. You both chose different ones. Actually, oh, okay, that's an issue that I haven't run into yet. I play the worst song at the end. So which one of these should I choose?
Alkali.
Okay.
Don't
That was
give
a me-
Daphne any more string. No, I'm joking.
See, Alkali is just my ex's. It's very personal for them. So yeah, play Alkali.
Yeah.
Alkali. Okay, cool. Then please, if you wouldn't mind, restate who you are, band name, and just say the name of the song in this case, Alkali.
Gotcha. My name is Art Ross.
I'm Aaron Green.
We are Pillow Fight, and our worst song is Alkali.
Awesome. Thank you both so much